What's up? Tyler Duffus from mixworship.com here, and I'm very excited to tell you about a sweet new drum replacement plugin from Waves called InTrigger. Before we go any further, I'd be grateful if you liked, subscribed, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you do your things. And if you're interested in picking up this plugin, I would be grateful if you used the link in the description for this. It helps me out to be able to keep creating content. I've been saying for years, if Waves came out with a real-time drum replacement plugin that could work in SoundGrid or Super Rack, they would clean house and be super sweet. Now, that being said, nothing trumps a great drummer playing a well-tuned, good instrument that's mic'd properly, using proper EQ, proper dynamics. Nothing trumps that. You do all those things, you're going to get a great drum sound. When it comes to triggers, because I do like triggers, because I've got Mix Worship drum samples and our Mix Worship template, I like samples. Sometimes you did all the other things, you have great sounding drums, and you just want a little extra oomph. So that's what triggers are for, in my view. It gives just a little bit of extra punch. It makes it to where you can get a little bit more snare, a little bit more kick out of a mix without having to compete with bleed coming in on a direct mic. Again, if the mic is placed properly, you can minimize a lot of that stuff. But it's a tool. So anyway, I'm super excited to jump in and talk to you about this plugin. There is a live version and a studio version. Basically, the difference being the live version is one sample of latency, and the studio version is like 1300-ish. We'll figure that out when we go in here. But the live version is great for like Super Rack Performer, or if you're doing a broadcast template like the Mix Worship Pro Tools Livestream template, which you can get at mixworship.com. The live version is great for that. But then there's also the studio version, and there's a lot of neat tools that can really help you get rid of bleed from like toms, kick, that sort of thing. So we'll go into all that. Let's jump into this. We're going to take a look at a sample from a band called Out of the Wilderness. The song is called I Want More. Shout out to those guys. And if you look that version, if you look that song up on Apple Music, that was a EP that I produced and mixed and was mastered by a gentleman named Drew Levine. But anyway, enough with the shameless self-promotion. Let's jump into this. So we're in Pro Tools. This is a new and revised version of this mix template that's available. So we're going to start with the live version of InTrigger. For the live version, you can drag and drop samples here. You can also hit this little folder guy. And so if you have your samples in a set specific place, I've got mine in a spot that I like. So with the original mix template that I had, we were using Trigger 2 and we were using TCIs. But if you bought that mix template, or if you buy that mix template, we also have a folder called One Shots. So I'm going to go ahead, we're on kick. So I'm going to grab my kick, One Shot, 48 kilohertz, version 5, and I'm going to drop that in there. Then the next thing I'm going to do, because I like to make things a little saucy, I'm going to take our snare trigger, I'm going to go to standard One Shots, and I'm going to drag that in as well. So right here, we're going to start out with where it says velocity. So this feature is basically like if you have 4 or 5 different samples of the same thing at different velocities, you can drop each of those in, and basically it will it'll adjust the velocity to human eyes. What we're going to do for our purposes, we're going to go to all layers because I want to hear both of these simultaneously. So like if you're in velocity, you're only going to hear whatever triggers that specific velocity that you have set. So we're going to go to all layers. I want to hear everybody. This tends to start at -6 on the volume, and I'm going to pop that up to 0. And for our snare sample, I'm going to drop this down to like -28. I just want like just a tiny tinge of crispiness every time the kick hits. So let's solo this up for a second. Let's see what we got. So we've got our triggers. You got your threshold here. And then you've also got your source and your trigger. So this is like a mix. So let's do that all the way over here. Okay. You also have an onset gate. So this kind of gates what's basically what your trigger is doing. So here you have the onset gate, and this is basically just gating what the trigger is putting out. I'm not sure how much I like the onset gate. I've kind of erred on the side of not using that, although I'm certain that there's uses for it. So I'm going to drop this down even just a little bit more. And here we've got our humanize function. So if you turn this off, you get the machine gun thing. You turn that on, and it does kind of a randomization thing with that individual one shot that you have. So you can choose how random you want it. Start that again. Probably gonna not do that too far that way. I think I kind of like right here. And follower, this is kind of a neat little function where, like, if a drummer is playing a couple beats right next to each other, it'll give it a little bit more of a natural feel to it. So I'm gonna kind of just leave that there. And again, if you turn this all the way down, you totally get rid of the that function. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and just throw this on 50 for starters to see what that does. So bypass. All right. So let's hear the whole groove. Let's hear the whole groove, just the drums. Okay, so this is with just the kick on, without the kick on. Okay, let's jump over and let's look at our snare. Big tubby Dallas 14x8. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do factory default on this. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna do our mix worship snare one shots. We're gonna go to standard and we're gonna pull in V6. And then I like to blend a little bit of the hybrid in underneath it. This is how I had the original mix template set up too. So if you have that, this is kind of where I'm starting from. So we've got both our samples in here. Let's go to all layers. We're set to all layers now. And right now our source and trigger are in the middle. So let's play and see where we're at. We're going to check our phase. Okay, so now I'm going to pull trigger all the way in. So we'll leave the phase open on both of these. And then we're going to pull our threshold down. Also want to turn off the onset gate. I'm not sure how I feel about that still. And then we also have a detection filter over here. So you can bring this guy up a little bit, probably around like 120, to try and keep those toms from triggering this as well. I'm also going to bring up this volume up to unity. It always starts at -6. And I'm going to bring this one down to like -7-ish. All right, let's fiddle with our random here. So we've got our follower. We don't really have any quick hits right here, so. Whatever we do to one of these, since this is kind of like a layered sample, I'm going to do it to the other as well. Because I kind of want them to be... So let's go find that spot really fast and see what this little follower guy does. Okay, what does this little guy do? It feels kind of clumsy. Let's pull that back. And we got one little hit in there that's kind of funny anyway. Not that we can control that in a live situation, but we can tweak it at least a little bit. So let's drop the humanize down to 40 because we're going to blend in our original snare as well on different channels. Okay, so now let's hear the whole groove with the InTrigger live on kick and snare. And when this is without the trigger. Just a little bit of extra punch, because why not? Now, let's hear it in the context of the mix. Down in the light of Pentecost, I have a helper to wake them up. Let's hear that drum fill. It's nice. I like it. So there's a lot of neat stuff that you can do with the live version. Also, just a quick note, with the live version, it's super low latency. It's only one sample. And so it makes life a lot easier when you're adjusting your time adjuster for delay compensation. Right now, I have delay compensation turned on, so I've got all my time adjusters bypassed because I haven't done the math on the regular InTrigger version yet. But I could tell you, if you look down here at the delay compensation, well, actually, we could do the math together. Here we go. Looks like it is 1277 is the delay compensation for this one. Okay, so we've got our same samples pulled in right here. I don't remember if I've... Oh, I never finished that one. I'll come back to that. Anyway, let's start with kick. So this is just the regular InTrigger. This has a whole lot of fun things that you can do. So you can hit the little learn guy. And so the separation, every time you change it, you've got to relearn. Let's fiddle with this a little. All right, let's go back to standard. So if we wanted to, we can take our focus and we're going to drop this way down. Oh, no, we're not. That's as far down as the low pass will go. Okay, so that's without our human eyes on. I'm going to bump this up just a little bit because he's got a little bit of a flutter happening with this kick. It's kind of re-triggering a little funny. Bump this up even just a scotch more. Okay, and I've got our onset gate turned off. I'm all the way over on trigger because when it comes to kick, I just like to totally replace it. As soon as you start layering a bunch of stuff, it can get funny with phasing unless it's the same instrument. For live stuff, I like to have a kick in, a kick out, and a sub kick, because the church that I'm at, I can. So, and each thing brings a different total aspect based on where it's placed on the drum and where it's at in the phase cycle, but you have to still adjust the phase to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do, and that everything is playing nice. But when you're mixing in a sample with a kick direct mic, you got to be really careful to be checking your phase to make sure you're not fighting yourself. So let's hear this in context with the drums. So that's doing a really nice job of figuring out what is our kick and what is not our kick. So let's jump over here to our snare trigger, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our hybrid guy. I want to throw it on that second level, and you can create tons of different levels. I'm not actually sure how many total you can create, but we're going to just do our 2 here that I like to use. I'm going to take this level up to Unity. I'm going to drop this little guy down to like 7 or 8. And then we're going to do learn. I'm going to bring the range up on this even a little bit more. And now let's go back to that other spot. Not bad. So another fun thing you can do is you can click on one of these misfires and kind of teach it what you want it to do. So you can exit out saying that's not a sample, or you can check mark it. And now it plays it. So let's go ahead and X that out. We'll hit resume. So this isn't really anything you can do live. This is more if you're doing a post mix on something, but there's a lot of possibilities for fun in different stuff that you're able to do. So let's hear this in context with the drums. And that's doing a really nice job of not triggering those toms. I'm even going to bump this up just a little bit, but that's pretty slick. All right, let's hear it in context of the mix. So this is a sweet tool for doing a post mix, or if you're doing like a worship album post mix. There's a lot that you can do with this. So I hope this video was helpful. Please, if you're going to pick this up, I would love it if you use the link in the description. That helps me out to be able to keep making content like this. Also, be sure to check out mixedworship.com for samples and mix templates, and tylerduffus.com as well for if you want to hire me to mix stuff. So anyway, thank you so much. Also, be sure to like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you get your social media fix. And we'll see you soon.